It's 3 years, almost to the day, since her son died. The grieving mother is calling for all police cars to carry a defibrillator.
18-year-old Jamie Rees was watching fireworks with friends on New Year's Day in 2022 when he went into cardiac arrest. The police were the first on the scene, but didn't have a defibrillator. While he was later resuscitated, Jamie did not survive, but his family believe that CPR just minutes earlier could have saved him.
And Jamie's mother, Naomi, joins us now alongside Jamie's stepfather, Jeremy.
Good morning to you both. Naomi, we met.
We did.
At the Princess of Wales carols.
We did.
Just before
so
Christmas.
So lovely to meet you and your mum.
Well, it was wonderful to meet you, and you just grabbed me and told me your story in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
And I just thought, we need to get this message out that you are campaigning on.
Absolutely.
Defibrillators. If they were in police cars, which quite often, and certainly in the case of your lovely son, are the first at the scene of an emergency.
Absolutely.
Can save lives.
Absolutely, especially if there's an ambulance delay, which Jamie suffered with as well. Jamie waited nearly 20 minutes for an ambulance. So the police did go to the scene and were there in less than 14 minutes. However, there was no defibrillator in that police car, which meant that police officer had to radio another police officer to travel all the way back to Rugby Police Station to pick up a defibrillator and come back to the scene.
Tell us what a defibrillator is and what it does.
So alongside CPR, a defibrillator can restart the heart.
And CPR means where you're just pushing down on the chest to keep circulation moving.
Absolutely.
And Jamie's friends were doing that.
Yeah, Jamie's best friend, Josh, and also his friend's dad, Tim, they were doing CPR on Jamie right from when Jamie collapsed. However, without the defibrillator to restart Jamie's heart, that led to, we didn't lose Jamie from his cardiac arrest. We lost Jamie from oxygen starvation to his brain because his heart hadn't been restarted quick enough.
Right. So if the group that he was with had access to a defibrillator, and I understand there was one in a local school.
Literally 1 minute away, but locked inside the building. So his friends knew it was there, but couldn't get to it.
No. And if the police car that arrived had been equipped with a defibrillator, someone could have restarted his heart, the CPR would have been effective, and his life might have been saved.
Absolutely, and what reiterates that was that Jamie's heart was actually restarted. He was a 1 in a million case that still had a shockable output even at 20 minutes. So had that defibrillator have been there at 10, 11, 12 minutes, the oxygen starvation wouldn't have been as severe, and there's every chance that he could have been here today if we'd have just had that access to it.
You have brought a defibrillator in because one of the messages that we all want to get across is, while this is a specialist piece of equipment, you do not need to be a specialist to operate it, because remarkably, it comes with its own spoken instructions.
Absolutely. As soon as you open a defibrillator and you turn it on, she starts to talk to you.
Do you want to just demonstrate?
You can do that. I mean, the main point about it is that people think, oh, I will need training, and actually you don't need any training to use a defibrillator. It's literally that simple.
So you press it on. You hear the beep.
All emergency medical services now.
First instruction.
Adult mode. Follow the voice prompt calmly. Remove all clothing from chest and stomach. Rip clothing if necessary.
So she's talking to you, but then you've also got the pads. It tells you exactly where to put them.
It shows you on there
It shows you on here as well. And then once it's on the person, it will tell you when to shock. And then the common misconception is, what if I press the button and I cause more damage? You cannot cause more damage with a defibrillator than somebody that is already in cardiac arrest. It will not shock if it doesn't need to shock. So it takes the panic out of that situation because somebody is guiding you what to do in that situation. You will usually have a 999 call handler on loudspeaker that will also prompt you how fast your CPR needs to be going, when to put the pads on, when to use it, when to press the button. It is such an easy piece of equipment to use. And, I mean, I go around schools. My 8-year-old nephew has used my training defibrillator, and because I go around schools and talk to children, they're not scared by the voice in a defibrillator. No. They're not scared about how to open accessible cabinets to get a defibrillator, which is obviously what Jamie's Foundation puts out in the community. But alongside those defibrillators that are in the community, we need for police cars that are being the first on the scene to also have one. It would, again, takes the panic out of a situation if a police officer arrives and there's one in the boot of his car.
mean, look, it all depends on whether you can get the defibrillator, but I think the message that you're giving, which is that this is something which is simple and easy, is so important. I've had first aid training, but after a year or so, you think, do I remember? But of course, what you need to know is dial 999, start the CPR, and then if there's a defibrillator, the moment you open it, it will tell you everything you need to know. You don't need to have any other guidance. Just do what it says,
Absolutely.
and it will work.
And in that awful situation, if you're ever in that situation, I know Jamie's friends will back me up on this. When Jamie collapsed, within you've got the best equipment you need anyway, because your adrenaline will remind you everything you ever heard about being in a situation like that. And then as soon as you hear the voice prompts from a defibrillator, it tells you exactly where to go and what to do.
But if there's no defibrillator, then...
Exactly. I mean, dialing 999, the call handler will be able to guide you to where your nearest community-accessible defibrillator is. And in Rugby now, we have over 150 since we launched Jamie's foundation. So in Rugby, people dial 999, they go and get a defibrillator, and they can take that back to the scene then, and there is one there. But across the UK, that's not the situation in most places. So usually the police officer will be the first person to arrive, and if they have a defibrillator, that's taken that panic straight out of that situation, and potentially you're going to save that person's life. When Jamie collapsed, he had about a 75% chance of survival, and by the time the ambulance reached him, that was less than 1%.
It's really interesting, this, isn't it? Because in schools, if the school's not open, that's no use. If you're in a football ground, there will be a defibrillator. You would think, as you said, because the police are the first there, you would have thought they would be the most likely places to be carrying defibrillators, like ambulances or fire engines. Yeah. And yet, I think in Warwickshire, it's not even all of the traffic cars,
no,
let alone...
3.4% of police cars in Warwickshire carry them.
How many?
3.4%.
So 96% do not have a defibrillator.
And crazily, that's undercover motorway cars that carry them and armed response units, that's all. Not police cars that are going to go to communities. The police officers in Rugby at the moment actually go to our J Foundation cabinets on their way to scenes to pick up one of our defibrillators to take to the scene. And for us,
it's not
crazy.
that big, is it?
I mean it's tiny. If you imagine the kit that a police officer has to have in the back of his car and all the things they take, it's such a minor thing to grab on your way out, to go out in your police car. We've raised so much money for these police cars in Warwickshire. We've got £12,000 sitting waiting to put 24 defibrillators in police cars that we've had raised by the community, that people have done, and to have worked so hard to get that money and then still have to be begging them to accept our money to put them out there, it's, do
they give you an explanation?
Well, it's been 2 years, Ed, since we started trying to get them in police cars, and there's been one thing after another. We had questions about whether police officers would feel confident to use them. We've spoken to numerous police officers, and the first thing they say is they do their job to protect life. Why would they not want to carry a defibrillator?
Can be confident.
The police officer that went to Jamie felt like his hands were tied behind his back because he just didn't have the equipment there to save his life. It's people like him facing families that they don't know what to do on those scenes.
Naomi, it's such a tragic loss. Losing your child is unspeakably dreadful. You have found a purpose, but also Jamie had signed up to the organ register, hadn't he?
One of the reasons we do what we do is because Jamie had signed the organ donor register 3 times in his short life, when he was 16, when he was 17, and again just after his 18th birthday. And I stood outside the front of Coventry Hospital the morning after we lost Jamie, and I watched Jamie's lungs take off in the helicopter to go to Bristol, and Jamie actually saved 5 lives, including that of an 8-month-old baby girl, on the night that we lost him. And I knew from that second that that wasn't going to be the end of Jamie's life. He was meant to save lives. And since we launched Jamie's foundation, he's actually saved 13 more lives with his defibrillators. And I know that he will go on and save hundreds of lives. And for us, he was never going to be just that lad that died at New Year. He was always going to be so much more. And in life, he was amazing. And even now, he's saving lives every day and taking the panic out of situations for people through his foundation.
I think you're amazing.
You'll make me cry.
Well done for what you.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you so much for having us. We just need the people that hold the purse strings to sit up and listen, because we can put all these out here in Jamie's name, but if they're sending police officers to scenes without them and people aren't, and the awareness isn't there, they're not going to make a difference. We need to keep trying for Jamie, and people don't need to keep losing their lives in out-of-hospital cardiac arrest. People can be saved.
Naomi, you're incredible. And Jeremy, thank you for being here as emotional support.
He stops me crying.
Yeah, incredible.
And think how proud Jamie would be of what you're doing.
I hear him in my ear all the time. He'll be saying, "Don't forget to say this, don't forget to say that." I know he guides me all the way, so...
You're amazing. Thank you so much. Such an important thing you're doing in Jamie's name.
Thank you.
And the foundation is called the Our J Foundation.
And it is backed by the most amazing team of people, and the people of Rugby have been a huge support for us since we lost Jamie.
Well done. Thank you both
Thank you very much
indeed.